Commander Jake Morrison checked the display screen on the bridge of the Defiant. The numbers showed they were moving fast, but not dangerously fast. His crew had been traveling through deep space for 3 months now, going farther from Earth than any human ship had gone before. The mission was simple: explore new regions and see what was out there. The bridge was quiet except for the low hum of the engines. Jake liked it this way. His team knew their jobs well and didn't need constant supervision. Lieutenant Katie Sullivan sat at the navigation station, watching the star maps update as they moved through unexplored territory. Next to her, Lieutenant Greg Palmer monitored the communication systems, waiting for any sign of other intelligent life. They had left human space weeks ago. Earth scientists believed there might be other civilizations out here, but no one knew for sure. Humanity had only developed faster than light travel 20 years ago, and most of that time had been spent building ships and establishing colonies on nearby worlds. The Defiant was different. It was built specifically to go far and see what else existed in the galaxy. "Commander, I'm picking up something," Greg said suddenly. His hands moved across his control panel, adjusting frequencies. "Multiple ships, unknown design. They're approaching our position." Jake straightened in his chair. This was it. First contact with an alien species. Every member of his crew had trained for this moment, but training was different from reality. "Slow to half speed. Katie, bring us to a complete stop in 30 seconds. Greg, prepare the standard greeting message in all frequencies." The ship began to slow down. Through the main viewport, Jake could see distant points of light growing larger. Ships, 5 of them, arranged in a careful formation. They were beautiful in a strange way, with smooth curves and gleaming silver surfaces that reflected the light of nearby stars. "They're hailing us," Greg reported. "Audio and visual. Should I put it through?" "Do it," Jake said. The main screen flickered and changed. An alien face appeared. The creature had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern on its face, and its skin was a deep blue color. It wore some kind of uniform, and behind it, Jake could see what looked like a ship's bridge similar to their own. "Unknown vessel. This is Captain Zekthar of the Velkari Defense Fleet," the alien said. The words came through clearly, translated by the ship's computer. "You are traveling at dangerous speeds through regulated space. Reduce your velocity immediately and prepare for inspection." Jake glanced at Katie. She looked confused. "Sir, we're barely moving now. We're at full stop." The alien captain's 4 eyes seemed to widen. On the screen, other Velkari crew members were moving frantically, pointing at displays and talking rapidly to each other. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Earthship Defiant," Jake said calmly. "We've stopped our engines as requested. We come in peace and wish to establish friendly relations." Captain Zekthar stared at him for a long moment. "You claim to have stopped? Our sensors show you were traveling at speeds that should be impossible. The heat generated by such velocity would destroy any known hull material. What technology are you using?" Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Something was wrong here. "We were traveling at 70% of our maximum speed. It's well within safe parameters for our ship design. There's no unusual heat generation." The Velkari captain turned to speak with someone off-screen. When he looked back, his expression was different. Worried, maybe, or confused. "Commander Morrison, your ship violates every known law of physics. You should not be able to move at those speeds. You should not exist." Katie leaned close to Jake and whispered, "Sir, I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. Maybe their sensors are miscalibrated?" But Jake was starting to understand. The alien ships hanging in space around them were smaller than the Defiant, and their design suggested they were built for efficiency rather than power. What if humans had developed faster ships than anyone else in the galaxy? What if the speeds they considered normal were impossible for every other species? "Captain Zekthar," Jake said carefully, "perhaps we should discuss this in detail. We're clearly using different technologies. Maybe we can share information and learn from each other." The Velkari captain was silent for several seconds. "Commander, I must report this encounter to the Galactic Council immediately. You and your crew will remain here while we determine how to proceed. Do not move your ship. Do not power your weapons. Any aggressive action will be met with force. We have no intention of being aggressive, Jake assured him. We'll wait here, but I should tell you, we have more ships like this one. Earth has an entire fleet. Captain Zekathar's face showed something that looked like fear. How many ships? Currently, about 50 deep space vessels similar to the Defiant. Another 200 shorter-range ships for system defense and colony support. We're building more every month. The Velkari captain closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them again, he spoke in a quieter voice. Stand by, Commander. This situation is far more serious than I initially thought. The screen went dark. Jake sat back in his chair and looked at his crew. They all wore similar expressions of confusion and concern. What just happened? Greg asked. I think, Jake said slowly, we just scared them. Our ship can do things their ships can't. They don't understand how that's possible. Katie pulled up technical data on her screen. Sir, if their ships are limited to slower speeds, then our vessels would seem incredibly advanced. We could cross distances in days that might take them weeks or months. That would give us a massive advantage in exploration, trade, and military operations, Greg added. If I were them, I'd be worried too. Jake nodded. Get me a secure channel to Earth Command. They need to know about this immediately, and someone start pulling together all our technical specifications. We're going to need to explain exactly how our ships work. For the next hour, the Defiant sat motionless in space while the Velkari ships maintained their formation around it. On Earth, military commanders and government leaders scrambled to understand the implications of what Jake had reported. Humanity's ships were faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. That could be an incredible advantage, or it could make them a target. Jake watched the alien ships through the viewport and wondered what would come next. First contact was supposed to be a moment of celebration, a step forward for all of humanity. Instead, it felt like they had just stumbled into something dangerous. On the bridge of the Velkari flagship, Captain Zekthar composed his emergency message to the Galactic Council. His hands shook slightly as he entered the data. In 12,000 years of recorded galactic history, no species had ever developed propulsion technology this advanced. The humans had achieved something that every other civilization had declared impossible. The message was sent. Within hours, it would reach Centrum Prime, the seat of galactic government. Within days, every major civilization in the galaxy would know about humanity and their impossible ships. The galaxy was about to change forever, and nobody knew if that change would be peaceful or catastrophic. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began exactly 4 hours after Captain Zekthar's message arrived. Council Director Var then stood at the center of the Great Chamber, a massive circular room where representatives from 47 different species gathered to discuss matters of galactic importance. Today, the chamber was full. Every species had sent their ambassadors. Holographic displays showed the sensor data from the Velkari encounter with the human ship. Numbers scrolled across screens showing velocity readings, heat signatures, and energy output levels. To the assembled representatives, the data looked wrong, impossible, like someone had made a mistake when recording the information. This cannot be accurate, declared Ambassador Morsik of the Torvin Collective. His tentacles waved in agitation as he spoke. No known material can withstand the thermal stress of moving at such speeds. The hull would melt. The crew would be cooked alive. These readings suggest the humans were traveling 3 times faster than our fastest military vessels. Director Var then nodded slowly. The Velkari have checked and rechecked their sensors. They found no errors. The data is correct. A ripple of disbelief moved through the chamber. Representatives turned to each other, speaking in dozens of different languages. The translation system struggled to keep up with the chaos. High Engineer Plekton of the Mechanical Concordat rose to speak. His species had been building ships for 8,000 years. They were considered the masters of propulsion technology throughout the galaxy. I have personally reviewed the data, he said in a cold, precise voice. If we accept these readings as accurate, then we must conclude that humanity has discovered something entirely new. They have either found new materials that can withstand impossible temperatures, or they have developed a cooling system beyond anything we can imagine, or both. How is that possible? Someone shouted from across the chamber. We have explored every element, every compound, every possible molecular configuration. There are limits to what matter can endure. Perhaps, Plecton replied. We only explored the configurations we could imagine. Perhaps humans imagined differently. The chamber fell silent. It was a disturbing thought. For thousands of years, the species of the Galactic Council had assumed they understood the universe. They had laws of physics that everyone agreed on. They had technological limits that everyone accepted. Now a new species appeared and seemed to break those rules. Director Varthan raised his hand for silence. We have invited a human representative to address the council. Dr. Helen Carter is Earth's ambassador. She has requested permission to speak and answer our questions. A new hologram appeared in the chamber. It showed a human woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She wore a simple blue uniform and carried a data pad. Helen Carter looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching her. Thank you for allowing me to speak, Helen began. I understand you're confused and concerned about our ships. I want to help you understand what we've built and why. Tell us how you bypass the thermal limitations, Plecton demanded. Tell us how your ships survive speeds that should destroy them. Helen touched her datapad. New displays appeared in the chamber, showing molecular diagrams and stress test results. We don't bypass the limitations. We use different materials. Earth has extremely varied environments. We have regions with terrible heat and regions with brutal cold. We have high pressure at the bottom of our oceans and low pressure at the top of our mountains. Humanity learned to work with extreme conditions because we had no choice. She pulled up an image of a blast furnace, a massive industrial machine glowing with heat. This is one of our metalworking facilities. It operates at temperatures that would vaporize most of your hull materials. We developed special alloys that can survive these conditions. When we started building spaceships, we used those same alloys. Ambassador Morsick studied the data. His expression showed doubt. These temperature ratings cannot be correct. You claim your hull materials can withstand heat levels 3 times higher than anything we use. Yes, Helen said simply, because we needed materials that could. Our planet forced us to develop them. She showed more images. Humans working in desert environments where the heat was killing. Humans diving to the bottom of oceans where the pressure would crush most species. Humans building structures to survive earthquakes and hurricanes. Every challenge we faced, we solved with better materials and better engineering. Our ship technology is just an extension of lessons we learned on our home world. But you're claiming you can do things we cannot, said a representative from the Spiral Collective. You're saying your species is superior to ours? No, Helen replied firmly. I'm saying we're different. We faced different challenges and found different solutions. You developed technologies we don't have. We developed technologies you don't have. That's not superiority. That's diversity. High Engineer Plecton was looking at the molecular diagrams with intense focus. These composite structures are remarkably efficient. I see design principles here that we never considered. The way you layer different materials to distribute thermal stress is quite clever. Thank you, Helen said. We'd be happy to share our research. We came to space hoping to find other civilizations and learn from them. We want to be part of the galactic community. Director Varthan spoke up. Dr. Carter, you said your ship, the Defiant, was traveling at 70% of maximum speed when it encountered the Velkari fleet. What is your maximum speed? Helen hesitated. Our ships can safely operate at speeds approximately 4 times faster than what the Defiant was doing during the encounter. The chamber erupted. Ambassadors shouted, some in anger, some in fear, some in disbelief. 4 times faster meant humans could cross vast distances in a fraction of the time it took everyone else. They could explore farther, trade more efficiently, and respond to military threats with terrifying speed. And these ships you have now? Director Varthan asked when the chamber quieted. Are they your most advanced vessels? No, Helen admitted. We have newer designs in production. They're faster and more efficient than the Defiant. Ambassador Morsick stood, his tentacles rigid with alarm. How many of these vessels does Earth possess? Currently, we have about 50 deep space exploration ships and 200 shorter-range vessels for defense and colony support. We're building more every month as our manufacturing capacity increases. The silence that followed was heavy with fear. The Galactic Council was looking at a species that had appeared from nowhere, with a fleet of ships that exceeded anything they could build. A species that was expanding rapidly and showed no signs of slowing down. What do you want? Asked an elder representative from the Wisdom Seekers. Her voice was quiet but carried clearly through the chamber. Why did you come here? Helen looked directly at her. We came to explore. We came to learn. We came hoping to find friends among the stars. Earth has a violent history, but we learned hard lessons from that history. We don't want conquest. We want cooperation. And if we don't believe you, Morsic challenged, if we see your advanced ships as a threat to our security, then I hope we can find a way to prove our intentions through our actions, Helen said. We're willing to be patient. We're willing to be transparent. We'll share our technology and our knowledge. All we ask is a chance to show you who we really are. Director Varthan looked around the chamber at the assembled ambassadors. This session will adjourn for 3 days while we consider what we've learned. Dr. Carter, you and your ship will remain in neutral space under Velkari supervision. Do not attempt to leave the area. We'll comply with your request, Helen agreed. The hologram faded. Helen Carter found herself back in her small quarters aboard a council station, surrounded by alien technology and alien faces. She had done her best to calm their fears, but she could see it hadn't been enough. The council species were terrified, and terrified people made bad decisions. She opened a communication channel to Earth. This is Ambassador Carter. We have a serious problem. The galaxy sees us as a threat. We need to figure out how to change that perception before someone decides to take action against us. Back on Earth, military commanders reviewed the council session recordings. Admiral Frank Bishop watched Helen's testimony 3 times, his expression growing more concerned with each viewing. They're afraid of us, he said to his staff, and fear makes people dangerous. We need to prepare for the possibility that this turns hostile. Orders went out to every human ship in space. Stay alert, avoid confrontation, but be ready to defend yourselves if necessary. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Would humanity prove to be peaceful explorers? Or would they become conquerors with ships too fast to stop? Nobody knew the answer, and that uncertainty was more frightening than any weapon. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within a week, every major civilization knew about humanity and their impossible ships. Scientists on hundreds of worlds worked day and night to verify the sensor data. They hoped to find errors, some explanation that would make the humans seem less threatening. Instead, every analysis confirmed the same disturbing truth. Human ships could do things that should not be possible. Lieutenant Greg Palmer stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Vanguard, watching his display screens with growing concern. The Vanguard was on a routine mission to establish trade relations with a mining colony in the Outer Territories. But things were not going as planned. Captain Monroe were being denied docking permission at Station Kivar 9, Greg reported. They say our ship poses a safety risk to their facilities. Captain Lisa Monroe frowned. That's the 3rd station this week. What reason are they giving? They claim our propulsion system generates dangerous radiation levels. But our readings show we're well within safe parameters. I think they're just scared of us. Lisa pulled up her diplomatic communications. Her inbox was full of messages, most of them negative. Requests for meetings had been denied. Trade offers had been rejected. Some stations were refusing to provide emergency services to human vessels. This is getting worse. Earth Command needs to know about this. Across the galaxy, similar reports were coming in from every human ship in Council space. The fear that had started in the Council chamber was spreading to the general population. News programs showed endless debates about the human threat. Should humans be restricted? Should their ships be regulated? Should they be forced to share their technology or even leave Council space entirely? On the Velkari homeworld, Captain Zekthar watched the news with a heavy heart. He had been the first to encounter a human ship, and now he felt responsible for the panic that followed. The humans he had met seemed peaceful, but his report had made the galaxy see them as dangerous. He decided to do something about it. Back on Earth, Admiral Frank Bishop convened an emergency meeting with the Joint Space Command. The room was full of military officers and government officials, all looking tired and stressed. We have 23 ships reporting hostile treatment in Council space, Admiral Bishop said. 3 vessels have been denied emergency refueling. 1 ship had to make an emergency landing on an uninhabited moon because no station would accept them. This situation is unsustainable. Dr. Helen Carter joined the meeting through a video link. She was still at the Council station, trying desperately to find a diplomatic solution. Her face showed the strain of endless negotiations. The Council is divided. Some species want to work with us. Others see us as an existential threat. The Zorn Empire is pushing for a resolution that would force us to limit our technology to match Council standards. That's unacceptable, Admiral Bishop said firmly. If we downgrade our ships, we'd be defenseless. Any species could attack us with impunity. I know, Helen replied, but they don't see it that way. They think we're the threat. They believe our advanced ships give us the power to dominate the galaxy if we choose to. A colonel spoke up from the back of the room. Maybe we should consider a show of force. Deploy more ships to council space. Make it clear that we won't be pushed around. That would make things worse, Helen said quickly. Right now, they're afraid of what we might do. If we start moving military vessels around, they'll see it as confirmation of their fears. We could trigger a war, so what do? Admiral Bishop asked. We can't just sit here and let them isolate us. Our exploration missions are being cut off. Our trade is being blocked. If this continues, we'll be completely excluded from the galactic community. Helen was silent for a moment, thinking. We need to change the narrative. Right now, the story is about scary humans with scary ships. We need to make it a story about cooperation and mutual benefit. We need to show them what we can offer, not just what we can take. How do we do that? Someone asked. I'm working on it, Helen said. I have some allies on the council. Not everyone is against us. The wisdom seekers in particular have been asking good questions. They want to understand us rather than just fear us. If I can convince enough moderate voices, we might be able to turn this around. The meeting ended without clear resolution. Everyone understood the stakes. If humanity couldn't find a way to ease the galaxy's fears, they might face economic isolation or even military confrontation. The dream of joining the galactic community was turning into a nightmare. On the council station, Helen Carter worked late into the night. She had requested meetings with every ambassador who was willing to talk. Some refused. Others agreed but came with hostile questions. A few genuinely wanted to understand. One of those was elder philosopher Renthal of the Wisdom Seekers. She was an old being, even by the standards of her long-lived species. She had served on the council for over a century and had seen many changes in galactic politics. Walk with me, Dr. Carter, Renthal said one evening. I want to show you something. They walked through the station's observation deck where massive windows showed the stars outside. Ships came and went, carrying goods and passengers between worlds. It was a busy place full of life and commerce. Do you know why the council works? Renthal asked. Why 47 different species with different needs and different goals manage to cooperate? Because you have common interests? Helen guessed. Partly, Renthal agreed. But mostly because we all accept the same limitations. We all build ships that go roughly the same speed. We all use similar technologies. We all understand what is possible and what is not. This creates balance. No one species can dominate because we're all working with the same rules. She turned to face Helen directly. Then you arrive. You break the rules we thought were unbreakable. You do things we thought were impossible. This destroys the balance we've maintained for thousands of years. Can you understand why that frightens us? Helen nodded slowly. I can. But we didn't break any rules. We just followed different paths to different solutions. The rules of physics are the same for everyone. We just applied them differently. Tell me about your homeworld, Renthal said. I've read the basic data, but I want to hear it from you. What kind of place creates a species like humanity? Helen thought about Earth, about the vast oceans and high mountains, about deserts that could kill in hours and frozen wastelands that could kill in minutes, about hurricanes and earthquakes and volcanoes, about a planet that was beautiful and deadly in equal measure. Earth is harsh, she said finally. The temperature swings are extreme. The weather is violent. The environment is constantly trying to kill anything living on it. Humanity survived because we learned to adapt. We learned to build shelters that could withstand disasters. We learned to create materials that could survive extreme conditions. Every generation faced new challenges and found new solutions. Renthal listened quietly. Your species evolved under pressure. Yes, Helen agreed. Constant pressure. We developed technology not because we were curious, though we are, but because we needed it to survive. Every advance we made was driven by necessity. And now you bring that same drive to space exploration, Renthal observed. You see obstacles and immediately start thinking about how to overcome them. You see limits and start planning how to exceed them. This is your nature, is that wrong? Helen asked. No, Renthal said. But it's different from most of the species in the council. We developed technology slowly, over long periods of stability. We refined and perfected designs over millennia. You developed technology rapidly, in response to immediate threats. You prioritized power and resilience over elegance and efficiency. Neither approach is better, but they lead to very different results. She paused, looking out at the stars. I think I'm beginning to understand you, Dr. Carter, and I think I can help others understand as well. But you must be patient. Fear is a powerful emotion. It takes time to overcome. We're running out of time, Helen said quietly. The Zorn Empire is pushing for action. They want the Council to force us to limit our technology. If that resolution passes, we'll have to choose between compliance and conflict. Then we must ensure it doesn't pass, Renthal said firmly. I will speak with my colleagues. I will explain what I've learned about humanity. Others will listen to me. We've been friends with many species for a long time. We have influence. Helen felt a small spark of hope. Thank you. We're not asking for special treatment. We just want a chance to prove we can be good neighbors. That's all anyone can ask, Renthal replied. Over the next several days, Renthal spoke with many council members. She shared her conversations with Helen. She explained Earth's harsh environment and how it shaped human development. She made a simple but powerful argument. Humanity wasn't more advanced, just different. Their advantages in ship technology came with disadvantages in other areas. Balance could be maintained through cooperation rather than restriction. Slowly, the tone began to shift. Some ambassadors remained hostile, but others became curious. They started asking questions about human technology instead of just fearing it. They wondered what humans might teach them, and what they might teach humans in return. But not everyone was convinced. The Zorn Empire. The Galactic Council chamber was packed when Ambassador Krelnax of the Zorn Empire rose to speak. The Zorn were a powerful species, controlling significant territory along the galaxy's outer rim. Their military was strong, their economy was robust, and their voice carried weight in council decisions. When Krelnax spoke, people listened. Members of the council, he began, his voice deep and commanding. We have debated the human question for weeks. We have examined their technology, studied their capabilities, and listened to their explanations. Now it is time to act. He activated a holographic display showing human ships in motion, their speeds highlighted in red to emphasize the threat. These vessels represent a fundamental shift in the balance of power. If left unchecked, humanity could dominate trade routes, control exploration territories, and project military force across the galaxy with unprecedented speed. No other species could compete. No other species could defend against them. Dr. Helen Carter sat in the observer section, her heart sinking as she listened. She had hoped the moderate voices would prevail, but Krelnax was a skilled speaker. He knew how to appeal to fear. Therefore, Krelnax continued, the Zorn Empire proposes the following resolution. First, all human vessels must submit to council inspection and agree to limit their propulsion systems to match standard council specifications. Second, humanity must share all relevant technological data with the Council Science Division so we can understand and potentially counter their advantages. Third, humans must accept restrictions on ship construction, limiting their fleet size to no more than current numbers. He paused, letting his words sink in. These measures are not punishment. They are necessary safeguards to maintain galactic stability. If humanity refuses these reasonable requests, we must consider them a hostile power and respond accordingly. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some ambassadors nodded in agreement. Others looked uncertain. A few, including elder philosopher Renthal, showed clear disapproval. Director Var then called for order. Dr. Carter, you will be given an opportunity to respond. But first we will hear from other council members. For the next 2 hours, ambassadors debated the Zorn proposal. Some supported it fully, arguing that restrictions were necessary. Others proposed modifications, suggesting less severe limitations. A few spoke against it entirely, saying it violated the principles of free development that had guided the council for thousands of years. Finally, Director Var then recognized Helen. Dr. Carter, you may address the council. Helen stood, gathering her thoughts. Everything depended on this moment. Thank you, Director. I've listened to this debate carefully, and I understand the concerns raised. But I must respectfully reject the Zorn proposal. Murmurs ran through the chamber. Krelnax's expression showed satisfaction, as if he had expected this response and welcomed it. Let me be clear, Helen continued. Earth will not downgrade our ships. We will not limit our technological development. We will not accept restrictions that would leave us defenseless. These demands are not reasonable safeguards. They are attempts to cripple a potential competitor. You admit you see us as competitors? Krelnax challenged. No, Helen said firmly. I'm saying that's how you see us. But you're wrong. We don't want to compete with you. We want to cooperate with you. There's a difference. She activated her own display showing images of Earth. You've all seen the technical data about our ships. Now I want to show you something else. This is our home. Look at it carefully. The images showed Earth's diverse environments. Scorching deserts, frozen tundras, deep oceans under crushing pressure, violent storms, erupting volcanoes. This planet tried to kill us every single day for hundreds of thousands of years. We survived by learning to build better tools, stronger materials, smarter solutions. Our ship technology is just an extension of survival skills we developed over countless generations. She changed the image to show Velkari homeworld. Your world, Captain Zekthar, has gentle weather and stable conditions. You developed elegant, efficient designs because you could afford to focus on elegance. You didn't need the brute force solutions we developed. More images appeared, showing homeworlds of various council species. Each one was relatively stable compared to Earth. Almost every species in this council evolved in more forgiving environments than we did. That's not a criticism. It just means you solve different problems. You have technologies we don't have. You have knowledge we lack. You have centuries of experience in interstellar cooperation that we're only beginning to learn. Helen turned to face Krelnax directly. You propose restrictions because you're afraid we'll dominate you. But think about what you're really asking. You want us to make ourselves weaker so you can feel safer. How would you respond if we demanded the Zorn Empire limit your military to make us feel safer? Would you consider that reasonable? Krelnax's expression darkened. The situations are not equivalent. We are an established member of the Council with a proven record. You are unknowns with frightening capabilities. Then get to know us, Helen replied. Give us a chance to prove our intentions through our actions. We've been in Council space for less than 2 months. We haven't threatened anyone. We haven't seized territory. We haven't attacked ships or stolen resources. All we've done is exist and explore, same as everyone else here. Elder Renthal stood. I would like to speak if permitted. Director Var then nodded. Please proceed, Elder. I have spent considerable time with Dr. Carter and her colleagues, Renthal began. I have studied Earth's history and environment. I have come to believe that humanity's advanced ship technology is not a threat, but an opportunity. She walked to the center of the chamber, her aged features calm and thoughtful. Consider this, humans have materials that can withstand extreme conditions. The Velkari have designs that maximize efficiency. The Torvan have recycling systems that recover nearly all waste materials. The mechanical Concordat has precision manufacturing beyond anyone else. What if, instead of fearing each other's strengths, we combined them? The chamber grew quiet as council members considered her words. Imagine ships built with human materials for the hull, Velkari designs for the frame, Torvan systems for resource management, and Concordat precision in every component, Renthal continued. Such vessels would exceed anything any single species could build alone. This is what cooperation offers. This is what we lose if we choose restriction and isolation. High Engineer Plekton of the Mechanical Concordat rose suddenly. The Elder makes a compelling point. I have reviewed human metallurgy data in detail. Their composite materials use principles we never considered because we assumed certain temperature limits were absolute. But those assumptions were based on our own environmental experiences. Humans experienced different conditions and discovered different solutions. He turned to address Helen. Dr. Carter, would your government be willing to participate in a joint research program? Not forced sharing, but voluntary cooperation? Helen felt hope rising. Absolutely. That's exactly what we want. We learn from you. You learn from us. Everyone benefits. Ambassador Morzik of the Torvan Collective spoke up, his tentacles waving thoughtfully. Perhaps we have been too quick to see threat where we should see potential. My people would be interested in such cooperation as well. Your ship designs prioritize power and speed. Ours prioritize resource conservation. Together we might create something better than either approach alone. More ambassadors began to speak, expressing interest in cooperation rather than restriction. The tide was turning. Krelnax could see his proposal losing support and his frustration was evident. This is naive foolishness, he declared. You speak of cooperation, but you ignore the security implications. Even if humans have good intentions now, what about in 10 years? 20? 100? Once they have spread throughout the galaxy with their superior ships, they could turn hostile at any moment. And what about you? Helen countered. What about any species here? By that logic, we should all fear each other constantly, preparing for hypothetical future conflicts. That's not cooperation. That's paranoia. Director Varthan raised his hand. We will vote on the Zorn proposal tomorrow. All council members should consider carefully what has been said here today. This decision will affect galactic relations for generations to come. The session ended and diplomats filed out of the chamber in small groups, discussing what they had heard. Helen found herself surrounded by ambassadors asking questions about Earth, about human technology, about the possibility of joint research. Captain Zekthar approached her with an unusual expression. Dr. Carter, I owe you an apology. My initial report emphasized the threat your ships posed. I should have also emphasized the potential they offered. The Velkari government is prepared to support cooperation rather than restriction. Thank you, Captain, Helen said warmly. That means a lot. Elder Renthal joined them. The vote tomorrow will be close. Krelnax has many allies and fear is still a powerful motivator, but I believe we have swayed enough moderates to defeat his proposal. After that, we can begin the real work of building trust. Back on Earth, Admiral Frank Bishop watched the council session recording with relief.
She did it.
She actually changed their minds, but his second-in-command was less optimistic. The vote was scheduled for noon, Galactic Standard Time. By morning, the council chamber was already full. Ambassadors had spent the night in discussion, building coalitions, making promises, and attempting to secure the outcome they desired. The air was tense with anticipation. Dr. Helen Carter sat in the observer section, trying to appear calm despite her racing heart. She had done everything possible to prevent the Zorn proposal from passing. Now it was out of her hands. The decision belonged to the council members, and she would have to accept whatever they decided. Director Varthan called the session to order. We will now vote on the Zorn Empire's proposal to restrict human technological development and fleet expansion. Each member species has one vote. A simple majority is required for passage. The voting began. Each ambassador announced their position aloud for the record. The first few votes went against humans supporting the Zorn proposal. Helen felt her stomach tighten. Then votes started coming in the other direction. The Velkari opposed the proposal. The Wisdom Seekers opposed it. The Mechanical Concordat opposed it. The count remained close as more species cast their votes. Some abstained, unwilling to take a clear position on such a divisive issue. With each vote counted, the tension in the chamber grew heavier. Finally, the last vote was cast. Director Varthan reviewed the results and announced 23 votes in favor, 24 votes against, with 3 abstentions. The proposal fails. Relief flooded through Helen. The measure had failed by a single vote. It was close, too close for comfort, but it was enough. Humanity would not be forced to limit their ships or surrender their technology. Ambassador Krelnax rose immediately, his posture rigid with anger. This is a grave mistake. The Council has chosen short-term optimism over long-term security. We will all regret this decision. He left the chamber, his delegation following. Several other ambassadors who had supported the proposal also departed, clearly unhappy with the outcome. Elder Renthal approached Helen. You've won a battle today, Dr. Carter. But the war for acceptance is far from over. Many species still fear humanity. You must prove them wrong through your actions in the coming months and years. We will, Helen promised. We'll show them that cooperation benefits everyone. Director Varthan announced, Given the Council's decision, I propose we establish a joint technological research program. Any species interested in participating may volunteer. The goal will be to share knowledge and develop new technologies that benefit all members of the galactic community. Dr. Carter, would Earth participate? Absolutely, Helen replied. We're eager to begin. Over the next week, details were worked out. A research station would be established in neutral space. Scientists from multiple species would work together, combining their different approaches to solve common problems. The Velkari would contribute their elegant design principles. The Mechanical Concordat would provide precision manufacturing. The Torvin would share resource management techniques, and humans would offer their materials, science, and high-energy systems expertise. Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to admiral, received new orders. He would command a joint mission with representatives from 7 different council species. Their goal was to explore a region of space that had been considered too dangerous with conventional propulsion systems. With human ships leading the way, they could venture farther than anyone had gone before. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of his new ship, the Horizon, watching his mixed crew work together. Belkari officers studied human control systems. Human engineers learned concordant maintenance procedures. It was chaotic at first, with communication barriers and different work styles creating confusion. But slowly, they found their rhythm. "Sir, we're ready to depart," reported Lieutenant Katie Sullivan, now his executive officer. "All stations report ready status." "Take us out," Jake ordered. "Let's show them what we can do together." The Horizon moved away from the station, its human-built engines pushing it to speeds that still amazed the alien crew members. But this time, instead of fear, there was excitement. They were going somewhere no one had gone before, and they were going there together. On Centrum Prime, Dr. Helen Carter transitioned from ambassador to director of the Human Council Technology Exchange. The research station was massive, with facilities for hundreds of scientists. She walked through the laboratories, seeing species from across the galaxy working side by side. In one lab, a Velkari engineer and a human metallurgist debated hull design, their conversation animated but friendly. In another, Torvin chemists and human physicists explored new energy storage systems. Everywhere she looked, Helen saw cooperation replacing fear. A young Torvin student approached her nervously. "Director Carter, may I ask you a question?" "Of course," Helen said warmly. "When your ships first arrived, many of my people said humans were dangerous. They said you would conquer us because your technology was superior, but you didn't conquer anyone. Why not?" Helen knelt down to the student's level. "Because conquering people doesn't make them your friends. It makes them your enemies. And we don't want enemies. We want friends. We want to learn from you and share what we know with you. That makes everyone stronger and happier." The student's eyes widened with understanding. "So cooperation is better than conquest?" "Always," Helen confirmed. "Conquest might give you power for a little while, but cooperation gives you progress forever." Back on Earth, Admiral Frank Bishop reviewed reports from human ships across Council space. The hostility that had marked the early weeks was fading. Stations that had refused to provide services were now welcoming human vessels. Trade agreements were being signed. Cultural exchanges were beginning. The Zorn Empire remained hostile, refusing to participate in joint programs and maintaining tight restrictions on human access to their territory. But they were increasingly isolated in their position. Most other Council species had chosen cooperation over confrontation. 6 months after the Council vote, Admiral Jake Morrison's joint mission returned from their exploration of the Galactic Rim. They had discovered 17 new star systems, 3 of which showed signs of primitive life. They had mapped regions that would have taken conventional ships years to explore, and most importantly, they had proven that different species could work together effectively. On the Horizon's bridge, Captain Zekthar of the Velkari stood beside Jake, reviewing their findings. The same Velkari captain who had first encountered the Defiant with suspicion now worked alongside humans as trusted colleagues. "I never imagined I would say this 6 months ago," Zekthar admitted, "but serving with your crew has been the honor of my career. Your people bring an enthusiasm and determination that is infectious. You make us believe we can achieve things we thought impossible." Jake smiled. "And your people taught us patience and elegance in our designs. Our next generation of ships will incorporate Velkari principles. They'll be faster than our old designs, but also more efficient and beautiful. That's the power of working together." News of the successful mission spread throughout the galaxy. Public opinion continued to shift in humanity's favor. The scary aliens with impossible ships became the adventurous explorers who opened new frontiers. Fear transformed into curiosity, then into respect. At the technology exchange station, breakthrough followed breakthrough. A new type of power system was developed, combining human materials with concordant precision and Torvan efficiency. It produced more energy with less waste than anything previously known. Hull designs that merged Velkari elegance with human strength created ships that were both fast and durable. Resource recycling systems that integrated multiple species approaches achieved near-perfect efficiency. These innovations were shared freely among all participating species. Ships across the galaxy began to improve as the new technology spread. Travel became faster and more efficient. Trade routes expanded into previously unreachable territories. The entire galactic economy grew stronger. Dr. Helen Carter stood at the observation window of the research station, watching ships come and go. Human vessels now traveled alongside Velkari cruisers, Torvan transports, and concordant science ships. The sight made her smile. This was what she had hoped for when humans first ventured into deep space, a galaxy where different species worked together instead of fearing each other. Elder Renthal joined her at the window. "You've accomplished something remarkable, Dr. Carter. In less than a year, you've helped transform humanity from a perceived threat into a valued partner." "It wasn't just me," Helen replied. "It was everyone who chose cooperation over conflict. Everyone who was willing to listen and learn. Everyone who saw potential instead of just seeing danger." "True," Renthal agreed. "But someone had to start that process. Someone had to speak the right words at the right time. That was you." Helen thought about the journey that had brought them here. The panic when human ships first appeared. The fear and hostility that followed. The tense vote that could have gone either way. The slow building of trust through joint projects and shared experiences. It had been exhausting and often frightening, but ultimately rewarding. "What do you think the galaxy will look like in 100 years? Helen asked. Renthal considered the question. "I think it will be more connected than ever before. Human ships will carry,